Given the series, here we have it. Does this series converge or diverge? And if it converges, find the sum. You can see the answers down here. How'd they come up with those? Well, first off, you know this is a Greek S. That's a capital S called sigma in the Greek alphabet. And why I mention it is because trying to key your memory. When you see that, think of S, think of sum. It's telling you to sum, to add up a bunch of things. What are we going to add up? Well, this formula, starting at n equals 1 and ending at infinity. So let's crank out a few of those terms. N equals 1 first off. I'm going to plug in a 1 right here for n. So I'm going to get minus 6/8 to the 1 minus 1. That's minus 6/8 to the 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Next term. How about, let's say, n equals 2. So I'm going to plug in a 2 right here. So this is 2 minus 1. Minus 6/8 to the 1, that's just minus 6/8. Let's plug in, and we're going to add. We're adding these up, right? Because it's sum. It's a Greek S. Let's plug in 3. Minus 6/8. I'm going to plug in a 3 right here now. It's getting a little scribbly there. Going to plug in a 3. 3 minus 1. Minus 6/8 to the 2. So you square that. So that means, minus 6/8 times minus 6/8, right? So two negatives multiplied to be positive. 6 times 6 is 36. 8 times 8 is 64. Plus ... And away we go. All right, so we're adding up those terms forever. It's an infinite. Now, the main thing we need to figure out is what's happening from term to term. What's causing the jump? That's called the R, the ratio, and you just take the second term divided by the first term. Because it's the ratio, it's called the common ratio, any term divided by the previous term. For a geometric, and it is geometric, you can tell it's multiplying every time. So take the second term here, minus 6/8, over the first term, 1, that's easy. That's just minus 6/8. So that means it's just multiplying by minus 6/8 every time. Is that right? 1 times minus 6/8 is, minus 6/8. Times another minus 6/8, two negatives, right? This is minus here. And this is minus 2 negatives, multiplied to be positive. 6 times 6, 36, over 8 times 8, 64. Yeah, it's multiplying by minus 6/8 every time. So that's the R. R is minus 6/8. So now, it's important to determine whether it converges or diverges. We have to answer the following question. For a geometric series, I should have said for an infinite geometric series, number 1, it converges, meaning it has a finite sum. Even though there's an infinite number of terms, it adds up to a finite sum when R is between -1 and +1. And the sum in that case equals A1 over 1 minus R. So that's the formula. But you can, whoops, it didn't come out so good. You can only use that formula when R is between -1 and +1. It diverges when R is not between -1 and +1, meaning it goes to infinity or doesn't come to a finite sum. So what's our value? Let's check it out. So if we go to if we divide under calculator, this is minus 0.75. So if we do a number line here, we put -1 here and +1 there, we put 0 in the middle. Where's the R value, -0.75? It's about right here. negative 0.75. There's our R value. So it is between negative 1 and positive 1. So our series converges. And so let's go up and answer that. So our series converges. And if it does converge, then you can use the formula. So we can use the formula. Sum is A1 over 1 minus R. A1, that's the first term. What's the first term? Well, it's right there, 1. 1 was the first term. 1 over 1 minus R. What's the R? Now careful. The R, 6/8, right? You go, it's just 6/8. That's wrong. That's a common mistake I often see on this kind of problem. The R is minus 6/8. I know that seems like no big deal, but many, a well-meaning student forgets about that minus sign. And then there's a minus sign right in the formula, right here. The minus sign in the formula, the minus sign on the R. You know what that means, double negative, but don't miss that extra negative. It's going to be plus, isn't it? So you can just do this on your calculator. Just take 1 divided by, you got to put parentheses around this because you want to divide by the whole denominator. Hit equals, I'm going to do that too. 1 divided by parenthesis 1 plus 6/8. And I get 0.57142857, blah, blah, blah. Is that what they got? 0.571428, yep. There it is. So in other words, that's interesting, isn't it? These numbers go forever. 1 and then negative 6/8 and then positive 36/4 and then negative, positive, back and forth. Forever. They go forever. And they add up to be a finite number. Isn't that weird? They cancel each other out so much and they get smaller so fast that they actually make a finite sum. Even though there's an infinite number of terms, it's a finite sum. It converges because the R value is right here between negative 1 and positive 1. So it converges. You study more about that in calculus. Very interesting.